ordered some new books. I recently ordered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have to count it like we're on Sesame Street. 6. Ha ha ha. But ordered 6 books. Will do reviews on the ones that are interesting to me. I've already read one of the 6. I like it so much. Wanted a 3rd copy. My first copy, I think I gave it away. 2nd copy I have in storage. I'm moving into a new location. I'm going to have my own office. I'm going to have my own studio. It's just going to be an office, but I will have it as a location where I can freely film. So I can finally put up my pop docs. Pop docs. I don't know how many pop docs I have. Pop doc is a series of paintings painted by Val Kilmer of his famous character he portrayed in the movie Tombstone. Everyone says he should have won an Oscar for that movie. He did a phenomenal job portraying Doc Holliday, legend of the Old West. Doc Holliday, he self-medicated. They say he drank a bottle of Old Forester every single day as self-medication. I mean, back in the 1800s, they did think whiskey is a cure-all, but that can kill your liver. I wouldn't recommend drinking a bottle of anything that hard on any type of regular basis. Old Forester. But I did go to Tombstone on a number of occasions, and I did take a shot of Old Forester a couple of different times. I think I at least 3 times, 3 different days, as a tribute to Doc Holliday. Val Kilmer's very proud of his role, as he should be. It's the pinnacle achievement of his career when he played Doc Holliday. And so he painted some, he spray painted with stencils, but some of them are very, very artistic. Definitely inspired by Andy Warhol in the fact that he does them all with different colors. I like it. I enjoy it. I bought, let's say I invested in, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7, 8. So I think I might have 8 Doc Hollidays, or pop docs is what Val calls them. I'll finally be able to put those 8 on the wall, but they're really sturdy, heavy steel. The medium he chose was steel plates, so they last forever, perhaps, you know. Gonna have to put up some metal on the wall and neodymium magnets on the wall. I have a pretty cool neodymium magnet experiment I want to show you. I'm sure you've seen it to an extent, but you've never seen it exactly to this extent. I was at my steel desk that I welded myself, my first welding project, and I had a string of neodymium magnets, which I still have. You know, they cost me like $30. I bought a pack of neodymium cubes, and if you twist them a certain way, they can balance perfect without anything holding them up but their own magnetism. But if you make them all straight, they fall. So you can literally twist the magnetic field of these magnets, and they can hold themselves up. But if you untwist the magnetic fields, they fall. And I related it at the time to, wow, you know, this is interesting. Magnetic fields can hold things, even if it's just the weight of themselves, in the form of a magnet. A magnetic field can hold magnets up, and I know of a surety that spirit entities of a dimension invisible to the human eye. They manipulate the magnetic field. They can manipulate the magnetic field. A poltergeist, for example. Even the word poltergeist is being destroyed every single day. Because I've had a poltergeist exact word Google alert for many, 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 many years. I thought I had it since my encounter of 2011 and even 2010. And maybe I did, but maybe I deleted it. Maybe it deleted itself. All I know is I went back to the earliest, and I think it goes back 9 years, 8 years, maybe even only 7 years, which is too bad. But that's when I would have gotten back into researching the subject. Everyone reacts differently. Everyone acts differently. Everyone can't assume they will be this way. If you're mugged on the street, I use this analogy a lot. If you're mugged and the mugger says, "Give me a wallet," and they're holding a knife, maybe they're holding a gun, maybe you've already rehearsed what you'll do in that moment. And what you rehearse does affect how you act in that situation. But every situation is different. You think maybe they're bluffing, maybe I can take them. You can pry it from my cold dead hands attitude. But in the actual moment, you're like, "Oh, you take whatever you want. I don't want to die." You know what I mean? Even the roughest, toughest dude can turn into, a delicate flower in a moment of panic. And as for me, I moved into a haunted room. Poltergeist activity took place. I witnessed it. Now, I don't even realize how rare it was until I Google searched it for 10. Well, I have been Google searching it since 2011. Even since 2010, but mostly, if in 2010, it would have just been a couple times. Since 2011, it would have been more than a couple times because it happened to me in front of my face, but I wanted to distance myself from the subject. So I really started it maybe in 2012. I started really thoroughly. 2013 started really thoroughly getting back into what the heck happened to me. What the heck was that? Because the rarity is what I'm talking about. I saw it in front of my freaking eyeballs. And I just watched a movie called Ed and Lorraine. It's a documentary on Ed and Lorraine Warren. I think it's called Devil's Road or something. 2020 documentary. And I was looking forward to it because I thought they were going to talk about in greater detail. They just kind of glossed over some of the bigger cases. But one of them I actually read about in a book by Raymond Bayless, who clearly also covered it, in addition to the Warrens covering it. And Raymond Bayless didn't even mention Ed and Lorraine Warren because he was a contemporary of Ed and Lorraine Warren. They said in the documentary Ed and Lorraine Warren were the only ones that did this. And they definitely pioneered to an extreme degree, most definitely. But Raymond Bayless was investigating side by side during the same time frame, possibly even before. I don't have a timeline. I think they both simultaneously were investigating the same subject of ghosts, poltergeists, entities, and haunted houses simultaneously. So I don't think one came before the other, because when you really look at the Ed and Lorraine Warren case, they both were interested in investigating to an extent before they even met. And Raymond Bayless didn't have a partner. So maybe that's why he never became a huge movie script. But the Raymond Bayless story, that would be interesting to me to watch. But Raymond Bayless mentioned the case of the girl who, I think a 10-year-old girl, admitted she was banging on the walls and she was doing the activity. And Raymond Bayless's conclusion was clearly she didn't do it. Maybe she threw a doll, maybe she hit a wall. But in cases of extreme poltergeist activity, the entities involved can take over someone. Well, let's just put it this way. The cop involved, or the chief of police involved in the case, let me back up. I don't know the details. Watch the video for yourself. Watch the documentary. Ed and Lorraine Warren, Devil's Road, something to that extent. It's actually a very famous case. Can't remember the name of it. But Ed Warren, in front of his face, when he was asked by the cops, did you see any poltergeist activity? He said, well, a lot of it happened when our backs were turned, but we turned and we saw it. And they said, what did you see in front of your face? Not behind your back, but in front of your eyeballs. What did you see? Ed said, I saw an icebox move in front of my face. I saw chairs move in front of my face. And they're like, okay, wow, let's go investigate. The fire department went to this location. The police officers went to this location. The police department saw in front of their face objects move in front of their face. The fire department saw similar things. They saw the TVs move. Apparently there are 2 TVs or something to that extent. And they saw the chairs move and this and that. But Ed Warren said he saw a huge icebox move, a gigantic, heavy icebox. One a 10-year-old girl couldn't move. Not only that, she was over there at the time. No one was over there at the time. He saw a huge icebox move. He saw these chairs move. They saw the TV move. They saw many objects move. The girl confesses she knocked on walls and threw a couple objects. So that could be a case of possession. Ed says it was the real thing. It was a real deal. I trust Ed. Let's tell him the truth. The chief of police didn't want his police officers in his unit to be branded by the media as lunatic idiots. This is the dumbest department of police officers in the history of the United States. These idiots take the cake. While Ed and Lorraine Warren were used to the skepticism and being treated like idiots, the chief of police wasn't used to this. He's someone that didn't want to be a laughingstock of the community. And so he pushed for this is a hoax narrative, and he looked for any scrap. And when the girl said she knocked on a wall and threw a doll, he grabbed it and said, it's fake. Dismissed, case dismissed. Ed and Lorraine said he was one of the most documented cases of poltergeist activity ever because of how many professionals witnessed it. Firemen, police officers came to the residence, and the firemen said, this is out of our expertise. We fight fires, we don't fight demons. And they left. They took off. They said it was out of their own expertise. Get an exorcist. I think the house was blessed by a Vatican priest only after. This could be a totally different case. I just watched the documentary yesterday. Maybe it's all blurring together. I am familiar with Ed and Lorraine Warren, independent from any of the movies. I think I've seen The Conjuring 1. Never seen any of the Annabelle movies. I've never seen Conjuring 2 and 3. I've never seen The Nun, or whatever it's called. They show you all the movies that inspired Hollywood, took from the Ed and Lorraine cases. They bought their movie rights, and they've made many successful movies. I guess The Conjuring 1 made $300 million. Hollywood realized, oh, this is a jackpot. Let's keep making movies on these two. And when you see it in the movies, when you see it in a documentary, when you hear about Ed and Lorraine Warren, you're interested. I was first introduced to Ed and Lorraine Warren by hearing them live on Art Bell in the late 90s. I listened to possibly every single interview from Ed and Lorraine Warren live. They would talk to Art. Art would ask them questions. This is before Ed passed away and before Lorraine passed away. I heard them play EVP after EVP after EVP on a 4-hour radio show. So I got to hear like 3 hours of EVPs or maybe 2 hours of EVPs. Some of them were quite frightening. And this is Ed and Lorraine playing them with old-fashioned tape recorders. They had the old-fashioned tape decks. They would record it and play it back, and I'm sure they had some smaller ones, but they used a lot of tapes, physical tapes, magnetic tapes. Those need to be backed up if they haven't already. They all need to be backed up. I'm sure they have been. But I heard these EVPs. I heard, did you hear that? It was a ghost. Unless you're there, isn't too phenomenal. Unless you were there, that's one of the EVPs. Sounds just exactly like that, all right? You know, it's clearly a voice. You don't know what it's saying. You'll hear EVPs that sound like that. Some of the Ed and Lorraine Warren EVPs. They're real voices of real entities, real spirits. And they coined the term electronic voice phenomena. I was freaked out by the subject. One of my relatives said they bought from Radio Shack a tape player that recorded automatically when it heard someone talking. They wanted to record angels or something to that effect. And luckily, it wasn't sensitive enough and nothing ever got recorded. I don't think a device like that would work with EVPs. Spirits are so subtle and so quiet that if you can't hear them with your ear at the time, the Radio Shack recorder that plays automatically when he hears stuff isn't going to hear it either. These are extremely subtle voices. You're like, okay, let's go in that room and let's check that out. Let's go over there. And the spirit's like, and you have to boost the volume 1,000,000% to hear it say, oh, I don't think so. So the auto record device is not going to work. You need to literally just click record and walk away. I've recorded EVPs. My most successful was the tunnel in Tucson. I assumed I would have that success everywhere, and I have not. So that tunnel in Tucson video, 100% legit, 100% real. I'm the hoax hunter. I'm a very skeptical-minded person. Here comes someone right next to me. Apologize. But I'm not going to stop the video because I already started it. Not going to stop. It's going to keep rolling. It's going to keep rolling, dude. Excuse me. Keep on rolling. This is a meditation part of the video. in the world of people who don't film themselves and upload themselves, it's such an odd thing that they have to gawk at it to an extreme degree. The dude's driving in his truck right now, and he's still gawking at the scenario. He's still there. Anyway, oh my gosh. Don't you dislike it when you pull up to a gas station, you want to fill up the gas, and the person in front of you, they're like already filled up. They like finished filling up 100%. They're like, they're done. They take it off, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna be filling up my gas pretty soon. And no, they gotta check to see if there's a restroom. They gotta get some gum. They gotta get a bag of ice. They gotta go get some cigarettes. They gotta go to get a couple drinks or two. They gotta go to the grocery store to get some extra gas points, even though they filled up and they don't need them. Oh, they gotta do this. They gotta go that. They gotta go across the street to go to the restaurant. And they take like 55 years, and they already just filled up, and they leave their car there. They gotta hitch a ride to get in someone else's car to go to a different gas station which has slot machines, so they can gamble while their car is parked in front of you. Happens to me all the time. This guy spent like 50 years getting in his truck because he was staring at me the whole time. Anyway, I'm not embarrassed for making videos. You know, I'm not embarrassed. And when I talk about spiritual things, I'm talking about spirits. The first stepping stone of spirituality is accepting and believing spirits exist. I recently read somewhere that it said that most closed-minded people are the people that automatically assume spirits exist. That's literally a reverse of the truth. The most closed-minded people are people that automatically assume spirits don't exist. I like one analogy in the Ed and Lorraine Warren documentary, Devil's Road, something to that effect. I don't know the full title. A woman was oppressed by negative entities. They finally got help from a priest. And I'm not Catholic, so I don't personally believe Catholics are the end-all be-all of exorcism, of banishing entities. I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but no matter who the priest is of whatever the discipline, of whatever the sect, of whatever the group associated, if they can't cast a demon out in 1 hour, then they didn't prepare. If they prepare and then go back and they still can't cast it out in 1 hour, either A, they're not qualified, or B, the entity has legal claim to be there. Such was the case in my haunted room in 2011. I casted it out, and every single hour it came back because it had some legal reason. It had a legal reason to be there. For one reason or another, the universe allowed a contract to be signed on both parties' sides, stating that I could be harassed for 6 months straight, no matter what. But I guess there are enough stipulations where I was able to cast it out and be free of worry for 1 hour. When the entity left, I cast it out. I noticed Ed Warren used the exact words I used, and I'd never heard that audio before. I saw Ed say, "In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave." And that's what came to my mind. That's what I did say in 2011. In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave. I'm telling bluntly, to the truth, something that already happened historically. If you want me to spin it and change it to something else, sorry. That's what happened in 2011. I said, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave. Get out of here. You're not welcome. By the power of God, go, leave, be removed. Henceforth, get behind me, Satan. I would freeball and improvise, but the gist was usually, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave. And it did leave every single time. Let me talk about the space before it came back. So there was an hour of peace, an hour of zero poltergeist activity, an hour of zero negative vibes, an hour of zero negativity. But of course, the first time it happened, I was actually pretty carefree. I was like, wow, it worked. This is awesome. I can get back to my ordinary life. I can get back to my normal life. I can take a nap. I can watch a movie. I can check my email. I can play a video game and not worry about being pestered by something in front of my eyes. I talked about in front of my eyes. I saw in front of my eyeballs. I don't know where the camera is. But I talked about in front of my eyeballs. Let me rephrase that. I saw in front of my eyes a cup move, pencils move, 3 boxes move, 3 giant boxes move. A pillow sat on 2 feet away from my eyeballs. Maybe it was 3 feet. I've mentioned maybe 3 feet, maybe 3.5 feet. 3.5 feet away from me. Now, when I say away from me, would have been away from my leg. So 2 feet, 3 feet away from my leg. So do the math on the eyeballs. 4 feet away from my eyeballs, I don't know. But extremely close to my eyes, I saw 2 entities sit on the pillow. Or the same entity twice. So I don't know everything. But I know what I saw in front of my face, all right? I've talked about it to an extreme degree, okay? I cast it out in the name of Jesus Christ. 1 hour later, pure silence. Nothing. Then it came back. I'm sure people will theorize if this happened. It was just in his head. Wasn't in my head, bro hombres. Things, they are still out here in the planet Earth in another dimension, probably pestering someone else this very moment. Although they're clearly imp servant demons. And perhaps they're just on a leash right now. Perhaps they're just locked up on a chain right now of the master demon who controls them. Sets them free at their discretion, whatever the case. One of Ed Warren's goals in life was to prove the devil existed. He did prove in a court of law that haunted houses exist. That is huge. So whenever you see those laws of real estate agents, at least in California, you have to legally let potential buyers know that this house has been reported to be haunted. Don't know if you believe in that sort of thing, but legally speaking, they have to say 2 residents back they saw an old lady walking down the hall carrying a plate of bread. So, hey, it's a positive thing. I mean, you might get a meal and you might get a ghostly plate of bread one day. That's no big deal. Sign the paper, buy the house. They move in, it's freaking demon infested. They're like, wow, we're out of here. No, I mean, houses can be possessed. People can be possessed. Houses can be free from possession. People can be free from possession. I can tell you this much. Houses can be possessed, and then the demons can literally lose interest and just move on to another house. That can happen. As far as humans being possessed and then the demons losing interest in that human, I think that's less likely to happen. So the demons that pestered me in 2011 They know I'm here. I'm getting that back to the analogy I was talking about. There's an analogy in the Ed and Lorraine Warren movie, documentary, Devil's Road, where this particular victim of poltergeist and demon and whatever the case, supernatural of a negative degree harassment, she said that after the priest exorcised the house, exorcised her, whatever the case, she said that the demon gave her an analogy. The priest gave her an analogy. I consider it's not a demon, the priest. The priest gave a beautiful analogy, one of the best analogies I've ever heard on this subject. He said to the lady who was free of possession, free of oppression, free of these negative entities, free of the haunting, the priest said, when you're born into this life, you're born into a room with no doors, just 4 walls. And that based on experiences you go through in life, perhaps choices, perhaps just actions, perhaps just moving into, I'm elaborating, but I'm sure he was more succinct and more eloquent. A door opened with negative things coming through. With our exorcism, our blessing and protection, we just closed that door. So now you're back to being in that room, but it's not like it was before. Before it had no doors, and you were fully protected. Now there's a door that was wide open with negative entities coming through. Now that door's closed. And she said, you have to walk a fine line from now on. Because even though the door is closed, it's not as good as there being no door there. There is still a door there, and it can reopen at any time, unless you walk a fine line. I'm sure some people will spin it and twist it for this and that, but it's actually a beautiful analogy. It doesn't need to be spun and twisted. It's like the Buddha. So you don't need to have Catholicism be the dominating mindset. You could think of Buddhism. Walk the fine line of the middle way. Every religion will have their variation of the middle way. Just don't go to extremes on anything. If you do, doors will materialize and doors will open up and things will enter. Well, I fully relate to that analogy because I know for a fact there are doors, metaphorically speaking, in my life, and the entities have literally swung open those doors and walked through them like it was a revolving door. Like they didn't have much resistance to walking through that door and saying, hey, we're still here, bye. They never have the courtesy to say hey or bye, but they do have the disrespect enough to harass and then leave, you know. I see comments saying, oh, here's this guy going crazy, this guy's insane. I'd be willing to take any test, to be honest, but I'm not under any type of jury. I'm not under any type of crime. What happened to me happened to me. It's the real deal, 100%. Because I'm such a fan of being lighthearted, I probably come off as kind of comedic. It's just my style of talking. I never try to spin anything to be comedy, but it comes off comedy on accident sometimes. Demons are real. The devil exists. Ed Warren was right. The devil is a real entity. I don't know if Ed ever met the actual devil. I don't know if I've ever met the actual devil, although I've said I could have on a few occasions. 2010, February 17th, 2010, I could have met the devil. If not, I met one of his generals and 1,000 spirits that followed that general. I did have a vision, I think it was in 2015, of an angelic being. This dream lasted, and it was a dream. It wasn't a daydream. I was unconscious in the REM state probably, or lucid dreaming, whatever you want to say. I was dreaming, but it wasn't a normal dream. It was a dream that lasted 30 seconds, and then I woke up immediately. It's kind of unusual to have a 30-second dream and wake up immediately afterwards, because it freaks you out so bad. Not a nightmare. It was just a dream of an angelic being floating in the sky, and that angelic being was demonic. He had blue eyes, blonde hair. Reminded me of the dad of Draco in the Harry Potter movies. This really platinum blonde, yellow hair, and I guess it was a little bit yellow, so maybe it wasn't as white as that guy's hair, but a Nordic look to it. Striking silver pipe collar, and I have heard, I mean, that's what I saw like 3 pipes that went around his neck. I don't know if they went into his chest or if that's just how they were held. And this was a supernatural being I saw in a 30-second dream. I had the feeling it was the devil himself. An angel of light. He looked at me really sternly. He looked at me like this. And then the dream was over, after I saw his cloak up close. So the dream might have been him doing this, and then me noticing the cloak, and then a zoom up of the cloak and seeing the L and then the backwards L. That's where, I mean, even before I saw the L and backwards L, I had an impression it was Lucifer. Just a dream, 2015, no big deal, right? Well, it was a big deal enough for me to wake up immediately and draw a picture of it. And you can see that video I posted a while back. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos, but for one reason or another, YouTube's algorithm makes me an anonymous rando dude. I literally have comments occasionally. Oh, check this guy's video out. He mentioned the same thing you mentioned. Maybe I've mentioned this once or twice. It's just so funny to me. It's so funny. I was like, okay, I'm curious. Who else had this poltergeist incident similar to that or whatever I was talking about? I click it, and it's me in a different video where I'm talking about the same thing. Me. Both videos are me. I mean, I don't know, man. I think some people don't know how to use YouTube. They don't know how to click the links. And it becomes, you know, it becomes a little bit of a burden, a little bit of a annoying thing. It becomes a little depressing when you put up hundreds and 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 hundreds of videos, and nobody even notices you're the same guy all those hundreds of times in a row. And if they do, they're like, eh. And occasionally they'll be like, oh, check out, someone mentioned the same thing. And it's me. Yes, other people do mention the same thing, and I am interested, but I'm not interested in a few things. I'm not interested if it's a fake video, and I've been shown many, many, many fake videos. 0% interested in that. Yes, I am the hoax hunter, and I do bust occasionally, but I don't do that full time. And even if I wanted to bust something, you bum people out. They're like, oh, I like that guy. I thought he was real. You just said he's fake. You just ruined my day. Being the hoax hunter is not a fun thing. Just going to plug in my phone so it doesn't die. You bum people out when you tell them something's fake. And it's almost paradoxical that the hoax hunter who busts hoaxes says he encountered poltergeist activity. But I did. I'm one of the most skeptical people I know. That doesn't mean much to people that don't know me, but I am actually extremely skeptical. I don't jump to conclusions. And if I say a poltergeist haunted my room in 2011, a poltergeist haunted my room in 2011. If I say it happened, it happened. I don't mince words when it comes to spirit entities existing or not, when it comes to negative entities existing or not. Some people want to focus on the clouds and the rainbows, shooting freaking fruit smoothies out their butt all day long. But the fact of the matter of the situation is this. Negativity exists in the universe 50-50. There's literally 50% negativity out there. And the people are like, oh no, it's all beautiful and rainbows. Those people are literally cutting one of their eyeballs out and stepping on it because they're only seeing 50% of what's out there. When you deny the existence of 50% of the universe, you're not even close to woke. You're not seeing a full picture of anything. You're deluding yourself into thinking everything's rainbows and happiness. Rainbows and happiness exists, all right? Good things exist. Positive spirits exist. But they're rare because of the current state of the planet Earth right now. Positive spirits aren't allowed to communicate on the level that negative spirits are allowed. And if they are, it's because negative spirits break the rules and they contact people more often. I personally don't think, I've said that a couple times, but, negative spirits act like lawyers. So I don't think negative spirits really break the rules all that often at all. I think negative spirits, demons, whatever you want to call them, I think they actually do follow the letter of the law. I think they're under a who knows how many 100-year lack of restraint period of time where they can communicate back whenever they want. But humans have to follow a certain rule set before they can communicate. What did I do before 2011 to cause two demons to harass me for 6 months in a row? I didn't do anything concerning anything out of the ordinary that any other human being hasn't already done. The thing is, those other human beings weren't harassed for 6 months straight. And so, most definitely I try to ponder, what did I do? What happened? I remember 2010, before the freaking high-ranking demon, and I mention it all the time, high-ranking demon, high-ranking demon, high-ranking demon. And I hear scoffing comments, high-ranking demon, you're a moron. But I have the ability. Lorraine Warren, for example, was a psychic medium, all right? She didn't like the phrase psychic medium, I'm sure, because she was raised in a Catholic household. And they said in the documentary that she didn't tell her parents she was psychic. She already knew what their response would be. She mentioned to one of the nuns, or not on purpose, but she was mentioning to her friends at the Catholic school how she could see the aura of light on humans. She said she thought everyone could see that. She didn't know it was a spiritual gift. So she was commenting to the other girls how this sister had a brighter aura than this sister. The lights around this sister are so much brighter than this sister. Talking about the nuns. So the head nuns' lights were a lot dimmer than this much younger, less experienced nun. Probably because she's more spiritually phenomenal. Maybe her faith and spirituality is off the charts, and maybe the head nun was a B. I mean, I'm not going to say that literally. We're talking theoretically speaking. Maybe she was an amazing person. Maybe it was vice versa. I'm just saying this. It was Pretty interesting. But the nuns overheard it, and they really scolded her for it. They said, "What are you talking about? Lights? What are you talking about? What are you crazy? Lights?" So Ed Warren said in the documentary, or at least I watched the thing. It said Ed commented how many priests don't believe in ghosts and demons. He said almost every other word in the Bible is ghosts and demons, and you don't believe it, and yet you teach this stuff and you supposedly read it. That was clearly a moment when Ed must have realized there's a difference between religion and someone believing in spirit entities. There's a wide, vast chasm of difference. An immense chasm of difference. I've noticed it personally as well. I mentioned to a priest my poltergeist story. The first priest I mentioned it to said, don't talk about it. Don't talk about that stuff. Don't talk about that stuff. Made me want to talk about it more and 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 more. I talked to another priest about it. He was entertained by my stories. He said, "Oh, you always have entertaining stories."